Joe, me gotta go, me oh my. Me gotta go, poke a beer up down the bayou. My Yvonne, sweetest one, me oh my.
You want to grab a chair?
Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. Yeah, jambalaya and a crawfish pie and a Philly gumbo. Cause tonight I'm gonna see my share of meal. Big guitar, feel fruit jar and big ale. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. Tippy-do, Fontino, well, the place is buzzing. Kinfolk come to see Yvonne by the dozen. Dress and style go on wild and big ale. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. Yeah, jambalaya and a crawfish pie and a Philly gumbo. Cause tonight I'm gonna see my share of meal. Big guitar, filled with jar and big ale. Son of a gun, we'll have fun on the bayou. Yeah, jambalaya and a crawfish pie and a Philly gumbo. Cause tonight I'm gonna see my share of meal. Big guitar, filled from jar and big ale. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. Well, son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. Alright, thank you. Jambalaya. I'm going to do a song now. This was a big hit in the 1970s, and now if you're in my world, you know, when there's very famous artists, one of the things that you never do is you never go up and you don't pitch your songs to them. That's very taboo. They even say don't even send us any songs because of all of the weird copyright allegations and all that stuff. So, but back in the early 1970s, Arlo Guthrie was, you know, very famous, and still is, but he's really famous then. And he was sitting in a bar in Chicago, and there was this local singer-songwriter there who, by the name of Steve Goodman. And Steve Goodman was pretty well known in Chicago, but not beyond Chicago. And he came up to Arlo and he said, "I think I got a song you're going to want to hear that I wrote." And Arlo said, "No, I can't do that, sorry." And Steve Goodman was very persistent and kept bugging him about it. And finally, Arlo said, "Okay, you know, you buy me a beer, as long as it takes me to drink the beer, I'll listen to your song." And he ended up liking it. He ended up recording it, and it became his biggest hit ever. And it was so famous that they named a morning show after it, Good Morning America. And I think Willie Nelson had a big hit with it, so a lot of people had big hits with this funny song that had a strange origin. And it's called City of New Orleans. Riding on the city of New Orleans, Illinois Central, Monday morning rail. 15 cars and 15 restless riders, 3 conductors, 25 sacks of mail. All along the southbound Odyssey, the train pulled out of Kankakee. Rolls along past houses, farms, and fields, passing trains that have no names and freight yards full of railroad men and the graveyards of the rusted automobile. Good morning, America, how are you? I said, don't you know me? I'm your native son. I'm a train to call City of New Orleans. I'll be gone 500 miles when the day is done. Dealing card games with old men in the club car. Penny a point, ain't no one keeping score. Pass the paper bag, holds the bottle. Feel the wheel rumble underneath the floor. And the sons of Pullman porters and the sons of engineers ride their fathers' matching carpets made of steel. Mothers with their babes asleep are rocking to the gentle beat, and the rhythm of the rails is all they feel. Good morning, America, how are you? Say, don't you know me? I'm your native son. I'm a train to call the city of New Orleans. Be gone 500 miles when the day is done. Nighttime on the city of New Orleans. Changing cars in Memphis, Tennessee. Halfway home, we'll be there by morning. Through the Mississippi divers, rolling down to the sea. But all the towns and people seem to fade into a bad dream, and the steel rails still ain't heard the news. The conductor sings his song again. The passengers will please refrain. This train's got to disappear in the railroad blues. Good night, America, how are you? I said, don't you know me? I'm your native son. I'm a train to call the city of New Orleans. I'll be gone 500 miles when the day is done. I'll be gone 500 miles when the day is done. Thank you, City of New Orleans.
Pretty good.
So this guy told me a kind of a funny story once. You have to reference your geography of Illinois and the political maps down there. And he said he was riding on that Illinois Central coming up through Illinois heading towards Chicago. And conductor comes on the intercom and says, next stop, Arcola.
Oh, yeah.
Sure enough, Arcola, Illinois rolls up and the train pulls to a stop. People get on, people get off, and the train starts heading on its way again. And after a little bit, the conductor comes back on the intercom and says, next stop, Tuscola. The old guy kind of chuckled to himself, and sure enough, Tuscola, Illinois rolls up, and the train stops, people get on, people get off, and a little while later, the conductor happens to walk by the guy, and the old man looked up at him, and he said, I suppose you're going to tell us the next stop is Coca-Cola. And the conductor looked at him, and he says, no, for you, sir, champagne. Now that's a joke that you can maybe tell, or a story tell in Wisconsin or Illinois, but I think out in California they wouldn't get it. So
I think the train was going in the
this
wrong
next song
direction
reminds me a lot of my parents.
from my map.
My mom was raised up in northern Wisconsin, and she was raised way out in the woods by her grandparents, and she went to a one-room schoolhouse, very isolated. And when she turned 18, she moved down to the Milwaukee area looking for work. And one night her girlfriends said, hey, there's this building in downtown Milwaukee called the Carpenter Building, and they have rooftop dancing. And we heard that sailors and GIs show up. You want to go? Well, my mom had never danced with a guy in her life, but she said, okay, I'll go. Now my dad, he was from out in west central Kansas. And he was raised during the Dust Bowl and the Depression. And I don't know if you've seen pictures of that old Dust Bowl out there, but you know, it wasn't very good. It was pretty bleak and gray, and everything was dying. And so he was stationed at Fort McCoy up here in Wisconsin, and he couldn't believe how green and full of water Wisconsin was. And he's even thinking, I kind of want to move here. And his buddies said, well, you know what? We have leave coming up next week, and there's this building in downtown Milwaukee called the Carpenter Building. They have rooftop dancing. You want to go? Well, my dad, he'd never danced with a girl before. So he says, sure. So that part of it we know is true. We know that they met there. My dad insisted forever he was walking down the hallway in his uniform and he heard a big whistle. A big... And my mom insists she never whistled at any man in her life, so we don't really know what happened. But this song reminds me of them. I wrote my mother and I wrote my father. Now I am writing to you. I'm sure of mother and I'm sure of father. Now I want to be sure of you. Don't sit under the apple tree with anyone else but me. Anyone else but me. Anyone else but me. Oh no, no, don't sit under the apple tree with anyone else but me till I come marching home. Don't go walking down Lover's Lane with anyone else but me. Anyone else but me. Anyone else but me. Oh no, no, don't go walking down Lover's Lane with anyone else but me until I come marching home. Well, I just got word from the guy who heard from the guy next door to me. The girl he met just loves to pet, fits you to a T, so don't sit under the apple tree with anyone else but me till I come marching home. Don't give out those lips of yours to anyone else but me. Anyone else but me. Anyone else but me. Oh no, no, don't give out those lips of yours to anyone else but me till I come marching home. Don't hold anyone on your knee. You better be true to me. You better be true to me. You better be true to me. Oh no, no, don't hold anyone on your knee. You get in the third degree when I come marching home. Away on your own where there is no phone and I can't keep tabs on you. Fair to me, I'll guarantee there's one thing that I'll do. Don't sit under the apple tree with anyone else but me till I come marching home. Till I come marching home. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That's a fun song. Well, when they only knew each other a couple months before, and obviously he's out in Fort McCoy and she's in Milwaukee, but they got engaged, and he was sent right to Korea. So, and then they didn't see each other for 2 years. So I'm kind of amazed that they knew each other well enough in that short time to actually fall in love and get engaged. But when he came back, he got sent back to Kansas, not to Wisconsin. And so he was working down there trying to get some money, and my mom would call him when she could get him. And you know, her phone calls back then were pretty hard. She'd call him up, and he wouldn't talk about the wedding. He wouldn't say anything lovey-dovey, and she's thinking, oh my gosh, maybe we're not getting married. What happened? So her boss had such pity on her and felt so sorry for her that he bought her a train ticket down to Dodge City, Kansas. And my dad took the old car from the farm and met her in Dodge City, and everything was fine, and they got married, but there was a reason he wasn't talking about the wedding. Now you fast forward to when I was a kid, and I'm out in that old farmhouse, and if things got real quiet, my grandma would lean over and she'd pick up the phone, and then she'd listen, because there was a party line. So my dad knew that if he talked about marriage on that phone, that half the town of Hollywood, Kansas would be listening, and 5 minutes after he hung up, the other half would know about it, so he wasn't going to say anything. Well, my daughter's been living with us. She was in her senior year of college and got brought home because of COVID. She's just graduating now, and so I'm hearing all of her musical choices. She kind of started out with Disney and moved on to some R&B and rap, and discovered along the way classic rock and roll, and now she's in a really funny phase because she kind of likes all of that, which is great. But she's also exploring music from the 70s and 80s, especially country music from the 70s and 80s. So I've been hearing this next song a lot. I thought, well, maybe I'll learn this one. You have to tell me if you like it or not. But it's originally written by the Bee Gees, but it's a really big hit for Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers, called Island in the Stream. Baby, when I met you, there was peace unknown. I set out to get you with a fine tooth comb, and I was soft inside. There was something going on. You do something to me that I can't explain. Hold me closer and I feel no pain, and every beat of my heart, we got something going on. Tender love is blind, it requires a dedication. All this love we feel needs no conversation. We can ride it together, making love with each other, islands in the stream, that is what we are. No one in between. How can we be wrong? Sail away with me to another world, and we rely on each other, from one lover to another, I can't live without you if the love is gone. Everything is nothing if you got no one, and you to walk in the night, slowly losing sight of the real thing. That won't happen to us, and we got no doubt. Too deep in love, and we got no way out, and the message is clear. This could be the year of the real thing. No more will you cry, babe, I will hurt you never. All this love we feel with you forever. We can ride it together, making love with each other, islands in the stream, that is what we are. Nowhere in between. How can we belong? Sail away with me to another world, and we can ride it together, from one lover to another, Thank you. That's one of those songs that if you listen to the lyrics, they don't really make sense. I can't really figure out if they're in love or they're not in love, because one part of each verse is about how it's not working out, and then it switches to how it will never fail. So. But it works as a song. I mean, that was a hit, so there you go. So somebody was asking me this is my second show here today, as you probably know, and somebody asked me about, he was commenting, as oftentimes people do, about modern music versus older songs, and I think actually there are some really, really great modern songs, some new great songwriters, but there is something to be said for that sophistication of past songs, especially the Tin Pan Alley songwriters, Hoagy Carmichael, Johnny Mercer, people like that. You had songwriters, and then you had singers, and the singers and the songwriters weren't always the same people. And so that became their craft. How you interpreted a song, how Ella Fitzgerald sang a song, wasn't like anyone else sang it. And if Harold Arlen wrote a melody, it wasn't like anybody else wrote it. So it was really kind of an amazing time. And to sort of support what the guy was asking me at the last show, my wife and I we're singer-songwriters, by the way. I'm just telling you that I'm a songwriter, but we were on tour a couple of years ago. It was before COVID, and we were singing in, of all times, February. We're going up into Canada, And so the furthest away was Montreal, a big festival they were playing, and other musicians were there. And James Taylor's brother, Livingston Taylor, was there. And besides being a great musician, he's also a musicologist. He teaches in Boston. He's a professor there. And he was actually scolding the songwriters there. He was telling them, you have to pay more attention to your craft, because these old songs, you know, they have such sophistication and beauty, and they're so complex, but yet they work. And he was suggesting everybody there start, because we were all folk singers and kind of country-ish or bluegrass, that people start paying attention to these old songs. So here's one of those old songs. So it's 1936, and it's written by Jerome Kern and Dorothy Fields. It's from the movie Swing Time with Fred Astaire. It's called Just the Way You Look Tonight. A Sunday when I'm awfully cold and the world is cold, I will feel a glow just thinking of you and the way you look tonight. Yes, you're lovely, with your smile so warm and your cheeks so soft. There is nothing for me but to love you and the way you look tonight. With each word your tenderness grows, tearing my fear apart. And I laugh, well that wrinkles your nose touches my foolish heart. Never ever change, keep that breathless charm. Won't you please arrange it, 'cause I love you just the way you look tonight. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh. With each word your tenderness grows, tearing my fear apart. And that laugh, well that wrinkles your nose touches my foolish heart. Oh, lovely, never ever change, keep that breathless charm. Won't you please arrange it, 'cause I love you just the way you look tonight. Yeah, yeah, oh, oh, oh. Just the way you look tonight. Just the way you look tonight. Thank you. Isn't that a pretty song?
Yeah, right.
I tell people I sing that to my wife when I need to butter her up. She's on to me now. I do a lot of themed shows, and so like I said, last fall I played the Route 66 America's Main Street show right out in that parking lot. I think it got down to the low 40s. It was pretty nifty.
Oh boy, yeah.
Yeah.
This one's loosely called "Over the Rainbow," and I actually don't play this song that often, but I'm kind of in the mood, so let's do "Over the Rainbow." And this melody is Harold Arlen, and he wrote all the music for The Wizard of Oz. Wrote a lot of other great hits too, for just kind of amazing songs. You got to accentuate the positive, "Old Black Magic." He wrote all that stuff, and he used a really interesting technique on this song. If you think about the melody and the theme of the song, "Over the Rainbow," what's the song about? It's about rainbows, and what's a rainbow? But a rainbow is an arc. So now think of the melody. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. It's a series of arcs. What an amazing! I don't know. It astounds me when I sing this. And other songs like this. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I wish upon a star to wake up where the clouds are far behind me. The troubles melt like lemon drops away upon the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Somewhere bluebirds fly, well, birds fly over the rainbow. Why, then why can't I? Someday I wish upon a star to wake up where the clouds are far behind me. When troubles melt like lemon drops away upon the chimney tops, it's where you'll find me. And somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, well, birds fly over the rainbow. Why, then why can't I? If pretty little bluebirds fly above the rainbow, why can't I? Thank you, Over the Rainbow. Well, it's a strange thing to say at a show, but I'm so glad we all made it through the winter. And what a great thing. We've been very holed up, me especially, kind of going crazy. We try to get outside a lot and take long walks and things like that. But it's rather tedious to not be able to do much of anything. And I love these shows, so thank you so much for having me. Now, being singer-songwriters, we do get out on the road, but the truth is we like our home, we like our bed. Being on the road is fun, it's interesting, but it's tiring, and we've certainly gotten to the age where now we try to decline people's very generous offer to put us up for the evening, because you never know what you're going to get. There's one fellow who was just the sweetest man in the world. He booked us on a show, and he was like insistent that we stay at their house, and when we saw the bed, he said, "This is your bed tonight." And it was his son, his little boy's bed. It was about that wide. It's like, well, okay, one of us can fit maybe, but you know, I'm a big guy. It's not going to work out. Another place, and again, you know, they're being very gracious, but we're just kind of past the age of couches and things. But we were on a futon sofa. It was my dad would call it a do-fold, and if you asked him why he called it a do-fold, he'd say because it do-fold. But anyway, it's one of those things where you push the top forward and then it goes down, and it's supposed to stop. Well, this thing was old, so you push it down and it goes and it goes and it goes. So now it's like this. So we spent the night. I'm hanging on to one end, and my wife's hanging on the other side, and it just so we do selective touring, and we get hotels and motels pretty much all the time now. But these shows are great because I get to go home at night. I so appreciate that. So this is 1956, Guy Mitchell, and a big hit for Marty Robbins. Well, I never felt more like singing the blues, 'cause I never thought that I'd ever lose your love, dear. Why'd you do me this way? Well, I never felt more like crying at night, 'cause everything's wrong and nothing ain't right without you. You got me singing the blues. The moon and stars no longer shine. The dream is gone, I thought it was mine. There's nothing left for me to do, cry over you. Well, I never felt more like running away. Why should I go? 'Cause I couldn't stay without you. You got me singing the blues. The moon and stars no longer shine. The dream is gone, I thought it was mine. There's nothing left for me to do, cry over you. And that is my one and only attempt at yodeling. Well, I never felt more like singing the blues, 'cause I never thought that I'd ever lose your love, dear. Why'd you do it this way? You got me singing the blues. You got me singing the blues. Singing the blues, thank you. That's a fun one. Well, speaking of the end of that old songwriting era, I think Tin Pan Alley sort of had its end around the early 60s, and this is one of the remnants of that time. And it's a song written by Jerry Goffin and Carole King, and of course Carole King went on to become a rather profoundly successful solo artist, but this is back when she was mostly a songwriter. And it's a great tune that they wrote for Benny King and the Drifters. When this old world starts getting me down, people are just too much for me to face. I climb way up to the top of the stairs, all my cares just drift right into space. On the roof, it's peaceful as can be, and the world below don't bother me. Come home feeling tired and beat, go where the air is fresh and sweet. Get away from the hustle and crowd and all that rat racing noise down in the street. On the roof, as can be, where some of the lyrics. There was a guy, I don't know where he's gone, but there was a guy back there with those cameras who looked a little bit like me, but a lot longer hair. And in the middle of that song, I see a guy over here taking pictures, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, he doesn't look the same. We played a really, really big rock and roll festival, my wife and I. We're not rock and rollers. So my wife, because it's easy to get distracted, and she practiced blasting the radio while she practiced so that she wouldn't get distracted. And we actually had on a stage near us the rock band Heart.
Oh, yeah.
So there's really no reason for us to be playing at all, because I don't think anyone heard us. But, anyway, this is a great old tune, the Beatles, and it's fun to watch Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr sort of they seem to be enjoying their lives, which is just a nice thing, because they gave us an amazing gift. And one of the funner things that I've seen recently, you know, James Corden on the Late Late Show. If you're up, I'm always up. I'm a musician, but he had Paul McCartney on that carpool karaoke, but it was a very extended feature. And at one point, they went to, they were in England, and they went to his childhood home, which is, I guess, now like a museum. And somehow word got out, and pretty soon there's people in front, and there's more people, and pretty soon there's like 1,000 people, which is what it must be like to live, you know, Paul McCartney's life. But the really cute thing was they went to one of those original pubs that the Beatles first started out in, and they played every single night, which is how they got so good and so tight as a band. And it's like a bar with seating, and then there's a very little stage with a curtain that's drawn. So what they did, they didn't tell anybody, but Paul McCartney and his full band were behind the curtain. And so when every time someone would unplug the jukebox, they didn't know this at first, but they, you know, the first guy that did it, they plugged the jukebox, and the curtain opened up, and there's Paul McCartney singing a song. So it was cute. So anyway, this is a great old Beatles tune called "I Will." Who knows how long I've loved you? You know I love you still. Will I wait a lonely lifetime? If you want me to, I will. For if I ever saw you, I didn't catch your name, but it never really matters. We'll always feel the same. Love you forever and forever. Love you with all my heart. Love you whenever we're together. Love you when we're apart. And when at last I find you, your song will fill the air. Sing it loud so I can hear you. Make it easy to be near you. For the things you do and dear you to me, I know I will. Love you forever and forever. Love you with all my heart. Love you whenever we're together. Love you when we're apart. And when at last I find you, your song will fill the air. Sing it loud so I can hear you. Make it easy to be near you. For the things you do and dear you to me, I know I will. I will. La da 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 da. Thank you, Beatles. Who could guess what all that controversy was about? Well, this is a great tune by Johnny Cash. 3 chords. What do they call country music? 3 chords and the truth. I Walk the Line. Now maybe this is just 2 chords. But I walk the line. And I think he's writing about how June Carter Cash helped settle him down a little bit. And he's kind of wild there for a while. And I have to tell you, my wife settled me down a little bit. My parents say thank God for Patty, because as soon as I could, I hit the road. I was living out of a 68 Chevy Impala, and I had a degree, but I had a degree in physical anthropology. I studied genetics, and I hit the road with my instruments and my dog and everything I owned. And my grandma used to accuse me of retiring first. And I'd drive around the country playing music for people, having fun. And somewhere I was approaching 30 years old, and my wife met her and started falling in love. And she said one day, "But Craig, I need food." Which I was like, oh, okay. So anyway, that helped me start settling down. So there you go. I keep a close watch on this heart of mine. I keep my eyes wide open all the time. I keep the ends out for the ties that bind. Because you're mine, I walk the line. I find it very, very easy to be true. I find myself alone each day with you. Yes, I'll admit that I'm a fool for you. Because you're mine, I walk the line. As sure as night is dark and day is light, I keep you on my mind both day and night. And happiness I know proves that I'm right. Because you're mine, I walk the line. You got a way to keep me by your side. You give me cause for love that I can't hide. For you I know I'd even try to turn the tide. Because you're mine, I walk the line. I keep a close watch on this heart of mine. I keep my eyes wide open all the time. I keep the ends out for the ties that bind. Because you're mine, I walk the line. Because you're mine, I walk the line. Because you're mine, I walk the line. Thank you, I walk the line. I think that they asked Lucille Ball once if it was ever love at first sight. She said, no, it always took about 10 minutes. I think Mark Twain, he said that love is the only condition of the heart that should be allowed to run its course. I like that. Fly me to the moon. Let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter or Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, darling, kiss me. Fill my heart with song. Let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you. Other words, hold my hand. Other words, darling, kiss me. Fill my heart with song. Let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, in other words, in other words, I love you. Hey, you hear that pretty song? I love the way Tony Bennett just made that his own. I don't even try to sing it like he sang it, because no one can sing it like he sang it. So, let's do a song. We're going to jump forward in the decades now. I have to tell you, this last year as a musician has been, oh, what a challenge. Because a lot of us ended up doing our shows online, virtually. And it was sort of like the great equalizer, because it didn't matter if you're famous or not famous. If you got sheltered in place and you didn't have a lot of equipment for that, a lot of proper equipment, it sounded horrible. And it would, in the middle of a song, things would just stop, and then they would start, then they'd stop, or it sounded like you're underwater. Or you'd be singing your guitar, you couldn't even hear your guitar because the filters on Zoom would suppress the sound of your guitar because it saw it as background noise. And, I mean, it was really something. Now that I finally figured it out, I'm going to be able to play in front of live people again. But I have to tell you, it was rough there. I remember one time in particular, this library had hired me, and it was a really big show. Their entire county was going to be tuning into the show. And I was trying to figure out how to make Zoom sound good. And I'd listened to a lot of folk singers had these webinars that were all talking about it. And I knew how to change all the settings to make it sound good. I knew on my computer how to disable and make it possible for me to use what they call original sound and cancel echolocation, and then the person hosting it, what they had to cancel, and it didn't work. And nothing that we were doing was working. So I started watching little YouTube videos, and it turned out that at 3 in the morning I figured this out. There was a British lady who did an aerobics class in England, had a YouTube video how to get quality sound for aerobics class using an iPad. I thought, well, I'm using an iPad, I guess I'm going to try to see if I can, so I watched it, and sure enough, turns out that everything you use, if it's a PC versus a Macintosh, or if it's a desktop versus a tablet versus a phone, all of the settings are different. So we could not, so at 3 in the morning before the show, because my daughter was in one room, she had the Zoom account, and she started yelling, Dad, it finally sounds good. So anyway, the other side of that, though, is the generosity of people, because a lot of the singer-songwriter stuff I've done, it's basically like a virtual tip jar, and people have the opportunity from whoever was tuning in around the country to offer something, and people were being very, very generous. I think they knew that musicians were basically, like a lot of people, what can you do? So positives and negatives. And I'm glad that things seem to be lifting. So this next band, I'm getting more and more requests at these shows to do this band, so I figured I better put one of their songs in, and it's the Eagles. Peaceful, Easy Feeling. I like the way your sparkling earrings lay against your skin so brown. I want to sleep with you in the desert tonight, with a million stars all around. It's like in a peaceful get a peaceful, easy feeling. I know you won't let me down. I'm already standing on the ground. I get a feeling I may know as the lover and the friend. This old voice keeps whispering in my other ear, tell me I may never see you again. So I get a peaceful, easy feeling. I know you won't let me down. I'm already standing. Yes, I'm already standing. I am already standing on the ground. Yeah, 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 yeah. Peaceful, easy feeling. Thank you. I think we have time for 2 more songs. Sure, we can squeak them in. We'll do this next tune. This is a great hit by Everly Brothers, and interestingly, it was written in 1955 in French. It was not written in English, and it was translated to English in 1957 for an American TV show called Climax, and I've never met anybody that's heard of that show. Obviously, it wasn't a big hit. 1960s, the Everly Brothers get a hold of it and they record it, and it's such a beautiful song. I've often wondered, like, how it must sound in French. You know, it's so beautiful in English. If someone French sang it to me, I just might fall in love with it on the spot. I don't know. It's called "Let It Be Me." I bless the day I found you. I want to stay around you, and so I beg you, let it be me. Don't take this heaven from one if you must cling to someone now and forever. Let it be me. Each time we meet, love, I find complete love. Without your sweet love, what would life be? So never leave me lonely. Tell me you love me only, and that you'll always let it be me. Each time we meet, love, I find complete love. Without your sweet love, what would life be? So never leave me lonely. Tell me you love me only, and that you'll always let it be me. You'll always let it be me. Thank you. Let it be me. I want to thank you.
Could I ask you, instead of a finale song that you had planned that was special, could you sing one of your own?
Well, I could. You want to hear? I mean, you want to hear one of my songs? Okay, well, we can do that. That's sweet of you to ask, thank you. Alrighty, well, this is a song, I told you about my dad out in west central Kansas, and so for a kid from Wisconsin, and we spent a lot of time on the farm, so for a kid from Wisconsin, it was a big deal to be able to go there, and when they let me like drive the tractor or help out, oh, that was amazing. So I had very, very positive feelings and memories. My dad was a teacher, so we spent always either Christmas or Easter break every year, plus a good chunk of summer there. And there's funny stories about them. I won't get into all that, but I will tell you that when my grandfather died, we were getting the farm ready for auction. And I remember it was like 105 degrees. It was really hot there, and there's all these brown recluse spiders in the tool shed that I was supposed to organize. I'd move something, and all these spiders, you go, you know. But as they call it, God's country, and they actually had a motto. It was called Kansas, the land of Oz, A-H-S, like like a beautiful place, which it is very beautiful, very harsh, but very beautiful. So one night after working there, getting ready, the farm ready, we were in the house, and I noticed that my uncles had lined up all my grandfather's old work boots, and they were all Red Wing boots. And so I asked about that. I said, what's with all the Red Wing boots? And they said, well, if you're a farmer, that's the only kind of boot you're going to want to wear. And so, of course, Red Wing is just made across the river, Mississippi River up there in Minnesota. So I framed a song about him. It's called Red Wing Boots. I think I'll buy me a pair of Red Wing boots. I'm gonna kick me up some dirt. I'm gonna stomp on the prairie like the chickens do. I'm gonna wear my old work shirt. I'm gonna cry like the coyotes do. I'm gonna drink and dance and flirt. I'm gonna buy me a pair of Red Wing boots and kick me up some dirt. Old dirt, a road, a ribbon of miles, kicking up piles of dust. Riding in my grandpa's Chevy truck, it's been through boom and bust. I stare at my grandpa's leathery neck like a beacon in the sea of grass, like a compass rose on an old road map to guide us home at last. I think I'll buy me a pair of Red Wing boots. I'm gonna kick me up some dirt. I'm gonna stomp on the prairie like the chickens do. I'm gonna wear my old work shirt. I'm gonna cry like the coyotes do. I'm gonna drink and dance and flirt. I'm gonna buy me a pair of Red Wing boots and kick me up some dirt. Farmhouse set against the morning sun, coffee in a mug. Up before dawn, those breastless cows waiting on the morning tug. Food smells good from the kitchen, boots and old blue jeans. You don't work, you don't eat, kinda right if you know what I mean. I think I'll buy me a pair of Red Wing boots. I'm gonna kick me up some dirt. I'm gonna stomp on the prairie like the chickens do. I'm gonna wear my old work shirt. I'm gonna cry like the coyotes do. I'm gonna drink and dance and flirt. I'm gonna buy me a pair of Red Wing boots and kick me up some dirt. I've always marveled at the ethic, I've always marveled at the grace. To a young boy's eyes, these prairie farmers are from another time and place. Like a scene from a Rockwell painting, this one won't be replaced. I'm not sure just what we gain from a high definition rat race. I think I'll buy me a pair of Red Wing boots. I'm gonna kick me up some dirt. I'm gonna stomp on the prairie like the chickens do. I'm gonna wear my old work shirt. I'm gonna cry like the coyotes do. I'm gonna drink and dance and flirt. I'm gonna buy me a pair of Red Wing boots and kick me up some dirt. All right, there you go. Thank you for asking. Thank you so much for coming out. I appreciate it. We'll see you again.